Good evening, Scotch Plains, and thank you all for joining us. We're going to start this evening with the pledge to the flag. If able, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank everyone for being here tonight. Tonight's meeting is about revitalizing downtown Scotch Plains and complying with our constitutionally mandated state affordable housing obligations. It is a meeting that reflects decades of planning. Women and men who served on our town council or planning board have advocated for just about a half century that downtown Scotch Plains should be revitalized and improved to better serve its residents. The desire to revitalize downtown and New Jersey's affordable housing laws led to the formation of the Downtown Redevelopment Committee that was comprised of volunteer residents and business owners from all over Scotch Plains. That committee met publicly over several years and engaged with other residents to provide input on our downtown redevelopment plan. It was then time to find a developer to construct the vision memorialized in that plan, and we strongly believe Woodmont Properties is that developer. Most of tonight's meeting, therefore, will be hosted by Woodmont's team, who will share their design proposal for our downtown. Please listen carefully. Please write down any questions or comments so that you don't forget them, because we want to run through Woodmont's presentation and save questions for the end. And we want to hear your questions and perspective, because your feedback will help shape the final plan. Just a little housekeeping before we turn over the meeting to Woodmont. I'd like to make some introductions, some familiar faces. Deputy Mayor Matt Adams is here. Councilwoman Elizabeth Stamler and Councilwoman Ellen Zimmerman are here. To my right is Township Manager Margaret Heisey. To my left is our Director of Planning and Community Development, Tom Stroh. Mike Mistretta, the Township Planner, is here. And to our left, our Redevelopment Attorney, Matthew Jessup. And finally, Woodmont Executive Vice President and General Counsel, Steve Santola. He's here, Steve is right here. Steve's team, whom the township has been working with for several years, will introduce, I think everybody should introduce themselves as the needs arise to make it easier. And now our township manager, Margaret Heisey, will explain the flow of the evening and the process for questions and feedback. And Margaret will introduce our Director of Planning and Community Renewal, Mr. Stroh, who will lay out in further detail how we got here and why. And Tom will introduce Woodmont's VP, Steve Santolo. Thank you again, everyone who's here tonight in Town Hall, everyone who's watching at home or online. And with that, Ms. Heisey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, on behalf of all of us, we appreciate you all taking the time to be here with us tonight. I know it's super warm out. Hopefully it's a little cooler in here. It just really demonstrates how much each and every one of you and everybody watching at home, how much you care about Scotch Plains, so thank you for that. I just want to give you an overview of the flow of tonight's information session. Many of you came here with questions, and that's exactly what this session is for. But we respectfully request that all questions and feedback are held until after the presentation from Woodmont. At that time, we'll invite anyone present to come up with comments. Come up to the mic with questions or comments specific to the Woodmont project. Topics will be addressed one time only. For instance, if you want to know if we're still going to have a farmer's market, which is yes, I'll steal the thunder on that one. Ask it. If somebody asks the same question, it's not going to be addressed again in the interest of time, because we know a lot of people have questions. If you have to leave before you have a chance to ask a question, or if you just don't want to come up to the microphone, we've placed index cards and pens in each row for you to jot down your questions or feedback. There's a box outside the courtroom for you to place those in as you leave. Tom's contact information is also on the table outside the courtroom. Many times I know that myself, when I go to something like this, I think of something the next day, And so please email Tom, and he will address or share with Woodmont to address. And for those of you watching at home, please note that just like our council meetings, we do not take questions or feedback on the Facebook platform. All questions can also be directed to Tom Stroh at his township email address, which is on our website for follow-up at a later date. So again, thank you very much, and Tom, you're up.
Sounds good, thank you. You guys want to flip to the slide here? Before we start, I just want to cover this here, to be clear about everybody, because we've gotten some questions about the downtown redevelopment area, what properties we're talking about, what we're not talking about. I know the town, the mayor did send some letters out to folks in the immediate area of this map, just so that they were aware, especially the business owners. We're dealing with the township's public properties, township-owned properties. We are not touching any private properties. We're not requiring anybody to do anything. If you're a private property owner and you're interested in becoming part of the plan, you can share your information with Woodmont, and I'm sure they would be happy to talk to you. But where you are doing this plan on primarily our surface parking lots, township-owned property, not private property. There was a question, I think, that some folks were getting questions about property maintenance. This doesn't negate any of that. If you're a private property owner, you're being asked to do something unrelated to this plan, you should continue to do so, because we're not redeveloping your property. The only property else is involved that's not township owned is the rescue squad property, and that's because we have a separate memorandum of understanding with them. We're going to be building them space to use in our new public safety building, so that we can incorporate their property into this plan as well in District C. So we're broken up District A, B, and C. District A is across the street where the library is located. District B is where we are right now, Town Hall and parking lot. And District C is across behind where the rescue squad property is.
Can we turn this one towards us?
My understanding is they need it for the camera.
Yeah, they need it. We're having a streaming issue, so sorry,
And
Chris.
let me say too, just because I don't know if it was said before, this whole presentation will be posted online. The meeting's being recorded. The video will be saved. This is not the last time you're going to be able to look at these slides. They'll be posted in the coming days. You'll be able to go at them, zoom in, take a look at them. We're not voting on anything tonight. We're not approving anything tonight. It's, as we said, a public information session, so this will all be uploaded. Go ahead, Jordan. So I see some familiar faces in the audience. I also see some new faces in the audience. I just want to take a second before Woodmont starts. Just talk about the history of downtown redevelopment in Scotch Plains and how we got here and what we're doing here tonight. Downtown redevelopment has been talked about, as the mayor said, since 1976, 50 years ago. I mean, I'm born and raised in Scotch Plains. Downtown redevelopment is something I've heard about growing up and been talked about by a lot of different councils and planning boards, like the mayor said, over 50 years. Our master plan in 1976 and every master plan thereafter talked about how we needed to look at infill development, focus on downtown redevelopment to stay competitive and bring vibrancy to the township. There was separately, besides the master plan reports, the township council over the years commissioned separate planning studies by different firms to look at our downtown, and all different firms came up with similar conclusions about the benefits of downtown redevelopment. In 1984, studies talked about how the town should build up and not out, and that how downtown Scotch Plains should solidify, consolidate, and intensify. A study in 1996 talked about redeveloping this property we're here right now talking about, with new retail and residential. Back in 2016, there was another study done that interviewed business owners and talked about how we needed to see how they were interested in seeing increased density in the downtown, more residents downtown who can shop and support local businesses and help form what they call the critical mass necessary to ensure the continued vitality of the downtown. And so, for one reason or another, the plans really didn't get off the ground. We continue to spend time and money talking about it, and now the difference is now we actually have a developer and a real plan to move this forward. This iteration of the plan kind of really took off back in 2017, as the mayor mentioned, when the Township Council set up a downtown redevelopment committee that was comprised of residents and business owners who were put together to provide input to the Township Council on the vision, the design standards, the zoning, the types of things that we want to see in our redevelopment plan, because we wanted to prepare a redevelopment plan and then go out to the developers, not have the developers come to us and tell us what to do. So we took all that feedback, we did surveys, we did a visual preference survey, we asked the public to take a look at different architectural design elements, what we want to see, what we want a developer to build. So we did all that work, had over approximately 35 public meetings, gathered all that information, got it to the mayor and council. They adopted a redevelopment plan in 2021 to revitalize our downtown and satisfy a portion of our affordable housing obligations. Some may recall, and back in March, we were in this room. I gave a presentation still online where I went through our 4th round affordable housing obligations. I'm holding, I think the mayor talked about it at the last meeting, a final compliance certification, also online, you can check it out, from the New Jersey Superior Court, that directly refers to this project as being necessary to satisfying our 4th round affordable housing obligations. What we're trying to do is focus the density downtown, like all of those studies said, protect our residential areas, protect our open space, focus density downtown, put something together that's consistent with smart growth and a walkable downtown where we're near roads and transit. As I said, we're redeveloping primarily underutilized surface parking lots. And we have a midpoint review. The court is going to look back in 2030 and ask us to see the progress we've made on this. And if we don't make progress, what that means is we could be open up to what they call builder's remedy lawsuits, where developers can come in, sue, come anywhere in town, any neighborhood, any density they want, and propose what they want. We will lose control of the process. By continuing with this plan and continuing with what the Superior Court has ordered, it will protect the town for at least till 2035 from these types of builder's remedy lawsuits. And I do want to say, because it did come up, we were at the farmer's market a couple of weeks ago, people were asking me, what is affordable housing? It's not Section 8 housing, it's not public housing, it's inclusionary, what they call. The affordable housing is within the project. You won't be able to tell the difference. It's privately managed. Woodmont will manage it. It's their tenants. It's just that the income levels, that the rent that you pay is determined based upon state income requirements. So there's what's called very low, low and moderate income levels. That ranges anywhere between $41,000 on the very low to $110,000 on the moderate for a family of 4. So we adopted this plan to revitalize and satisfy these obligations. And then what we did in 2022 is we did what's called a request for qualifications RFQ process. We put this plan out on the market with our goals and objectives to see what developers were out there, who was interested, who had the ideas to implement our plan. We went through that, we evaluated the criteria, and we decided in 2023 that Woodmont Properties was best suited to implement our vision and goals. I'm going to touch on a couple things now. Woodmont's going to tell you a lot more than me, but the highlights of why we thought Woodmont was the best partner for us was, number one, experience. We didn't want somebody this is their first rodeo. We wanted somebody who had experience doing this. This is a very large, complicated project. Woodmont's got over 60 years of experience doing this kind of thing. Architectural design. I talked about the visual preference survey before. Their architects, their team really demonstrated to us that they wanted to put something together that complements the existing character, complements the existing architecture, satisfies the visual preference survey, something that fits in, doesn't look like it was just thrown in. Parking, another important thing. This plan replaces one-for-one all of the public parking that is in the downtown now and fully satisfies the parking requirements that we put out. A lot of developers were trying to tell us we don't need as much parking, people aren't going to use it, all this. Woodmont was the only group that said we'll 100% satisfy the parking requirements. Public open space, another important component. We just didn't want something that's a lot line to lot line development. We want something that's going to have nice amenities for our residents, things that everybody can enjoy. Public open space, gathering space, very important to complement and enhance our Allen Augustine Green. I'll say, in case you're not aware, the Allen Augustine Green is not part of the redevelopment project. That's Green Acres. It's staying, and we're trying to enhance that through new public open space to go with that. Financial strength, Woodmont's got the experience. They've got the capital. We want to fulfill this plan from day one to day end. Nobody wants a half-built building in downtown. We want somebody who can complete this project as envisioned. So those are the highlights of why we believe Woodmont, and they'll demonstrate it here tonight, why they met the criteria of our plan and are looking to fulfill it. In 2024, well, I'll say, in 2023, after we designated, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection adopted new flood hazard rules and stormwater management rules, which we have to comply with if we're going to move forward with this. So since the adoption of those rules, the town's engineers and Woodmont's engineers have been working collaboratively, perfecting a plan that's in alignment with these new rules. We had to work on a study, we had to work on a model, we had to present that to the DEP. That's what's called our line verification report approval, which tells us what the design elevations are required in a flood hazard area to design these buildings. We've got that approval from DEP after doing that work, and now we're continuing to work with the DEP on the next steps for approval. Project does absolutely recognizes the need to address resiliency, planning, climate change, and flood issues. So the purpose of tonight, why we asked Woodmont to come to listen to all of you today, is they're putting this application together for the DEP. We wanted to hear from you so that they can hear your feedback and make any necessary adjustments to the plan before we submit it. This meeting tonight is focused on Woodmont's plan for downtown. We're not covering project financials right now. We're not covering the public safety building on Plainfield Avenue tonight. Those are, as we said, there's a lot of components to this. Each of those are separate conversations. They shouldn't be all packed into one night. We're going to have future public information sessions about all of the topics. Tonight, we're focused on the design plan for downtown. Again, nothing's being voted on tonight. Nothing's being approved. This is a public information session so that we can hear from you. And with that, Mr. Santola.
Thank you very much, Tom. So I like the part where you said all the good things about Woodmont. Good evening to all of you. Thanks for coming out. I am Steve Santola. I'm Executive Vice President and General Counsel at Woodmont Properties. We have a whole team here that I'm going to introduce you to in a minute that's going to walk you through a number of slides and talk to you about what our plan looks like. Before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about Woodmont Properties. So we're born and bred here in New Jersey since 1963. We started as a single-family home tract builder and small commercial builder mostly in Union and Morris counties. Over time, like a lot of our peers, we moved into the multifamily arena. We also have an industrial warehouse section of our company, which is not obviously involved today. We currently own and manage over 3,000 apartments, including a large chunk of affordables. So I thought Tom's explanation of how the affordables work was really well done. It's the same across the state of New Jersey. It's done through a lottery at your town hall. You have to qualify by income, and we manage that process along with somebody, a designee from the town hall. We do specialize in downtown mixed use, and I'm going to walk you through some successes that we've been lucky enough to have. And I look with interest on Tom's image, that the shot he showed that shows going back to 1976 with your downtown redevelopment. Well, let me just assure you that every single town has that same slide. Sometimes it goes back to 1950, sometimes it starts in 1990, but they all have the same slide. And what we call it is stuck in the mud, right? And so we started to specialize helping towns get unstuck. And it's not easy because you get stuck for a lot of different reasons, right? You can get stuck because of DEP, like we had a little slowdown here. You can get stuck because politics change, because the economy runs away from you. There's all kinds of things that make it very difficult to develop a redevelopment of this size and breadth and frankly, quality that can slow us down. And I give real bouquets to the current group of leaders because they've decided the time is now, that the wind's at our back, both economically and legally, and we should move forward. And I also give them credit because there's a lot of towns out there that are formulating their affordable housing plans by sticking what would be the equivalent of affordable housing out on 22. And that's fine, that's a solution. But what you're getting here is you're folding the affordable housing obligation into the downtown. So it's creating an investment that goes well beyond the 52 affordable apartments that we're providing here. It's going to bring new retail, new public space, new apartments. And I'll tell you what else it's going to do. It's going to drive the bar around here because we're going to build a beautiful project. Class A, and I'm going to show you some of the images that we've done elsewhere. And everybody around us, the landlords and our friends, they're going to say, you know what? I got to put a new paint on my building. I got to spruce up my sign. Woodmont and this redevelopment are making me look like I'm not keeping up. So that spreads. And if you want a great example of it, go to Metuchen, where we were fortunate enough to be the first project that was developed at the train station, and the downtown is just spectacular. And that is not the downtown that we bought into when we started working with them in 2013. So real quickly, I just mentioned that one of the things we love to do is be early investors in a town that senses that it has great bones and that there's more to do and there's so much growth that can help and happen in the right directions. We were the very first company in Morristown. We did 3 projects in Morristown, and I remember the first time I was there in 2004, the mayor saying, listen, people, there's tumbleweeds that are rolling across the Morristown Green. We have to do something to revitalize our downtown. And if you go to Morristown now, go there after work, it's hopping. Go there at dinner, it's hopping. Go there late night, it's hopping. That's not going to happen here in Scotch Plains. Frankly, I don't think you need the loud bands and the rock and roll, which I love, by the way, but until 1 in the morning. But you're going to create a happy hour environment, and you're going to create a dinner environment. And all of these things will come really naturally as our redevelopment takes hold in the community. So let's just take a quick stroll here through some of what we've done. So this is our most recent probably downtown success, and this is in Metuchen at the train station on Pearl Street. And I want you to focus on that public square because you're going to see some similar images in a little while here when we talk about Scotch Plains. Where are you going? You're right. So this is there's a parking garage to the rear. Now this is right on the train. It's actually the stop right before Metro Park. And we went through a number of iterations. We were just like Scotch Plains. Metuchen held what we call in the business a beauty contest and took RFPs. And there were 11 submissions, and we were lucky enough to win there. And we had a great working relationship with not just the governing body and their professionals, but all of our neighbors. We had meetings with the neighbors during construction. We told them when the deliveries were going to be coming into the downtown. We worked hand in glove with the whole downtown. And by the way, a block and a half from here, they were building a Whole Foods at the same time. And we still managed to make it work all the way through. You can go to the next one now, Jordan. This is in Morristown. A lot of people call this the Roots building, but it's really 40 Park. The Roots Steakhouse is in there. Morristown Green right across the street. In 2004, we bought the entire block from the Epstein's family, which was a department store that was going under. And we redeveloped it with condos and retail and apartments and a new parking deck. And if you're lucky enough to get into downtown Morristown now, you see how the whole town is really, really thriving. And one of our professionals, Dave, can talk to that as well when he gets up here because he's done a lot of the landscape and public space work in Morristown. So here's the building we're going to build right here on Park Avenue in Scotch Plains. I'm kidding. But I love that line. It's one of my favorites. I use it every time. So right now you're on the west side of Red Bank. And if you all know Red Bank, hip city, the east side got all the love, and that's where Tiffany wanted to be and all the fancy restaurants. And on the west side was a burned out lumberyard. Like I said, every one of these redevelopment projects has their own story. And a burned out lumberyard sat there for years. Finally, a philanthropist bought the site and wanted to build the Two River Theater, he was a director and a producer of his own plays and wanted to do his own thing. You might remember when Bruce did his Unplugged, that was the opening night of the Two River Theater. He subdivided the property in half, and he went out on his own beauty show, and he said, listen, I want something West Coasty, something cool, something like you'd find in the Bay Area. So we brought in a Bay Area architect who designed this building. The city went crazy for it. We set up color images in the lot, and we let the town people vote on what colors they thought would work well. Wasn't binding, but we tried to get everybody to participate. And we ultimately developed this building on the corner of Bridge and Front Street. You can see it today if you go there. Huge success. Helped bring some of the redevelopment panache from the east side over to the west side without losing the artsy flair that the west side was known for. And I point this out, and I always show this image just because I'm trying to drive home. You haven't seen one image that looks the same as another, right? I'm not coming from Dallas or Charlotte and telling you, oh, this is going to look great. We've built this in 15 cities across America. We don't do that. I grew up down 22 in Livingston. I worked for years and years in Westfield. All of us are from from New Jersey. All of our executive team was born and raised in New Jersey. And that's where our hearts are, and we kind of know, or at least we feel like we know, what's going to work. Next image, sir. This is a great story. When we came into this project in Cranford on South Street, it was 7 stories high and it had 3 lawsuits. It was being pushed by a New York City hedge fund that had somehow ended up with title to the property that was supposed to be a supermarket back in the 70s. It was then going to be a place where you'd put your car on the train and take it to Florida. You know that? That was supposed to be a stop here to put your car on the train. That never worked out. So we met up with these guys, the hedge fund guys from the city, and said, this is crazy. Let us talk to the town. Let's put the building on the ground. We're not going to do 7 stories. We're going to cut the unit count in half, and we're going to make, they had real affordable housing problems in Cranford, and we're going to build something that everybody can really enjoy. This is a half a mile from the train station. We run a little shuttle. Been really, really successful. Also has a 15% affordable requirement, and we were able to, resolve all of the litigation surrounding it, shoveled the New York City money guys to the side, and got it done. Next one, Jordan. One last one, and I'll stop talking for a minute. So this is the old town hall in Morristown, right? Sounds a little familiar to what we're doing here tonight. The building in the middle was their town hall for probably 35 or 40 years. It was built by Teddy Vail, the first president of AT&T, actually imported all of the marble across the ocean. He never finished before he died, and somehow it ended up in the town property, ended up in control of the town. It had a jail in the basement that we made into a wine cellar. And then we built multifamily on either side that matched the historical nature of the building. The front park, just like your park to the left, was protected by green acres. So we weren't trying to get closer to the street. We weren't trying to put 15 pounds of stuff in a 10-pound sack. We enhanced the park. We pulled all those bricks up from around the reflecting pool, numbered them, put them back in, and really delivered a very, very successful community. If you go there now, it's right next to the Morris County Arts Center, which you've probably been to maybe some shows there. And you can have dinner there right before. And it's a great, great place to live. I always say it's the best front lawn in New Jersey if you're fortunate enough to live there. Go ahead, Joy. So we talked a little bit about our team. So when you get into an endeavor like this one, that is going to be years in the making, hundreds of millions of dollars in investment, you don't screw around. You don't get your neighbor's son-in-law as the architect. You don't try something that, people that you don't have a lot of faith in. So Chris Boone from Lessard's out of Virginia. They are one of the East Coast multifamily superstars. They have built up and down the East Coast, lots and lots of stuff on the waterfront in New Jersey. And Chris is going to walk you through the plans that he's come up with here. You're going to notice, I just want to point out a few things. We stay off the street in both projects, right? We understand that there's a culture here. And we don't want to drop a spaceship in the middle of your downtown. That's not going to work for any of us, right? No one's going to want to live here. No one's going to want to, rent a restaurant here. Everyone's going to say, what the heck have we done? So we're trying to create an environment that fits nicely and smoothly in with what you have existing. And that's what Chris is really good at. Dave Lusberg from Arterial does landscape and public parks. He's worked extensively in Montclair and Morristown, done some amazing, softscape and hardscape, and he's going to talk to you about what our goals were for the park in front of our one section, what we called Area B in Tom's sketch, that connects with your existing green, and how we're going to make those spaces work together. I think you're really, really going to enjoy it. And of course, we have the bad guy, Shane from Dynamic. He has walked us through the DEP process with these new rules that the new rules have actually it's like Pele was a great soccer player, but he transcended soccer, right? These new rules you read about everywhere, the real rules and the PAC rules with DEP's anti-flooding and resiliency, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding them. They're extraordinarily difficult to meet. They're the toughest standards in the country by far, yet the guys at Dynamic were able to work through the process, make sure we're going to build resiliently and safely. Jordan? So real quickly, what do we do, right? So when we were ready to put in our RFP as Woodmont to the Scotch Plains request, what do we want to do? The first thing we want to do is we want to look at your goals as a community, right? It's not our goals. I could have a whole set of goals. If it was up to me, I'd have 3 more Massa pizzas down the street because it's the best pizza in Union County. But I don't get to make those decisions. So we looked at your goals, right? So we saw that you wanted to redevelop properties which have been found to be an area in need. Develop a vibrant downtown community. Create residential uses that don't exist in your town today. I always like to tease towns like Scotch Plains. Diversification in housing is not 4-bedroom colonials or 5-bedroom colonials. We are going to bring to your community Class A, highly amenitized downtown living. That does not exist here. It's a whole new breed to diversify your housing stock. And what could be better than that, right? Young couples that don't have any kids, that don't want to be in the city, come, they rent an apartment, they're like, this town's amazing. Boom, they're looking for houses. They're keeping your property values up. They want to be here, right? I know school-age kids scare people, but what doesn't scare people is strollers. Strollers are your lifeblood. You have strollers, you have a future, and you have a life. So we wanted to also make sure that this was a mixed-use community that's going to encourage public space, dining. I mean, that's really where it's at in a lot of these downtown redevelopments that you've seen go on, whether they be in Cranford or Morristown or Red Bank or Westfield. And so we want to make sure we have a mix of uses. Go ahead, Jordan. So planning and designing for those goals, right? We want to consolidate the inefficiently used municipal parking. I know it's convenient and easy to just pull up and park in a no offense, Mayor, but in a marginally conditioned parking lot. But all of the public parking in our communities that we're going to show you is on the first floor. So it's going to be just like parking on a surface lot, except there's going to be a roof over your head. Your car's not going to get cold. It's going to be safer. It's going to be lit. And if it's raining out, you're not going to have to splash through the puddles. We want to make sure we provide enough of the parking. And I thought Tom was very generous in pointing out that, you know, I have to say, because we had spoken to some other developer candidates for this redevelopment project, and they said, oh, the parking, blah, 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 blah. And we said, that's what they want. Why are you trying to tell the town what they need when the town is telling you exactly what they need? Deliver it. And that's what we did. And then we also, what we want to try and do here is our commitment to complete streets. You're going to see facades and streetscapes all along the front here that I think you've done a nice job with your streets, but we can do more. And we want to see that grow and really be, people will drive down, come off of 22 and drive down Park Avenue and be like, wow, this place is something else. And it's here. It's ready. It can actually happen. Woodmont's approach to redevelopment, I don't want to read you the whole thing, but I love the first line. Look, success for the redevelopment is ultimately measured in the value it brings to the entire community. It's not about what how much money Woodmont can make or how many elections the town council can win. Everybody has to win. And that doesn't mean everybody's going to like every single aspect of what we're going to show you tonight, because you can't please all the people all the time. But it has to be beneficial to your town. It has to grow your tax base. It has to provide jobs. Excuse me. It has to provide a great place for you to want to come and hang out, a better environment for your farmers market, movie nights. We're going to be able to put 2 or 3 different band stages up between the 2 parks. You can have 2 or 3 bands. You can have your own Lollapalooza right here in downtown Scotch Plains. So that's really important to us. And if you have an idea with regard what we did in Metuchen for the public spaces, we met with everybody who might use it, and who needed a hose bib, and who needed an electrical box, and who needed a place to store things. And we designed around those things. So now, when the farmer's market's done, we can have a conveniently located hose bib, and somebody can hose off if there was, one of the vendors left a mess. Or if we want to do a movie night, you don't have to worry about how big the screen is or how much power they're going to have, because there'll be a juice box right out there that you can plug into. So all of these things can be planned for, and it will help make it more exciting and more fun for the whole town as time marches on. Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry I'm being a little longer than I had hoped, but I'm just into this. So this I'm going to turn over in a second to Chris. But you saw these districts, right? District A is over by the library. I have no idea why that's District A. District A should be the town hall, but I didn't name them. We'll blame Tom for that.
That was Mike Mistretta.
Oh, there we go.
My first mention all night.
No, I was getting to you. So what I really just wanted to show you here real quickly is, you can see, Jordan, just on the current town green, put your marker on it. On the existing.
The existing.
Down. Oh, where are you going?
He doesn't even know.
No, he doesn't.
What are you asking for, sir?
The existing town green.
Oh, I'm sorry,
There.
right here.
All
Yeah,
right.
the park, yeah.
So, I have a friend who lives in Scotch Plains, and I tease him all the time. I said, the first thing we're doing is we're bulldozing that gazebo. He said, oh, my daughters love that gazebo. The park will not be touched, except for if there is some request to improve it, we will be happy to work with improving it. Our public space in front of our which was part of the redevelopment plan, is designed to coordinate with that, so that they can be used as a double, really almost doubling your space. And you're going to see how we can widen our community. You can even close down park just within these four corners and create like a whole festival area. I don't say you do that every Saturday, but you know, there's things that you can do that'll be, what we're trying to focus on is to create flexibility, particularly here in Area B, that should be called Area A, so that it works for everybody. It works for anybody who really wants to use it. So, let me just say this. We have been at this. We were selected now mayor a year and a half ago. 2 years?
Almost 3 years ago.
3 years ago? Man, am I old. I didn't have any gray hair when we made the first application. So the thing that has slowed us down, as we talked about, was the DEP, right? That's a grueling process. But I have to tell you, and I'm not just blowing sunshine, your town professionals and your town administration, every single issue that comes up is like, well, how does this help Scotch Plains? How does this help Scotch Plains? So they are working extremely hard to try and develop something that everyone's going to like. But when I tell you your interests are first, you can believe me. It's kind of, you know, it can be difficult for a guy like me who's just trying to get something done. But they make sure every time that it's about Scotch Plains and Scotch Plains and Scotch Plains. So you haven't heard the last of me because I won't be able to stop myself from jumping up and talking. But I do want to introduce Chris Boone, who's our lead architect from the Lessard Group, as I mentioned, all the way up from Virginia. You can tell he's wearing white. It's already time in Virginia. It's hotter than it is here, so he can get away with it. Chris?
Yep. Good evening, everybody. Chris Boone with Lessard Design. I'm not here to talk about Lot A and B this evening. If we could go ahead and go to the first slide. So just to orient everybody with the diagram up above. Right now, we don't show any of the landscape because I don't want to steal any of Dave's thunder later on in the presentation. So it's really just a texture up there. But just to orient everybody, I have Park Avenue across the top, and then Singer Place down here across the middle. Now, what's really important to know is how we are addressing the public plaza on an architectural level. Now, you can see we have a very large open area that'll have flexible use, but really what's important on the architecture side is how we are engaging that. And you can see with these red boxes here on where that location and this location, this is the retail space. This is the 10,000 square feet of retail space that is there to engage directly to that plaza deck. Both of these spaces not only have direct frontage, but they also have entry points and colonnades that allow for shaded access, which I'll show you some rendering images as well. In the lighter pink area, we have what would be the residential amenity leasing area. So we have effectively a continuous active use all along the plaza face. So at any point, you see this active, engaged storefront usage. You see people, you see movement. It's safe, it's secure. As it relates to the rest of the building, you can see in this yellow color here, this is the residential units. And we have this wrapping around. We do have an internal courtyard with pool for the residents. And then really healthy setbacks all the way around the building. And then we have the parking garage, right? And this parking garage is designed so that all of the ground floor spaces will be for public use, so that you can have easy access directly back out onto the street. What is unique about this configuration and why we've designed it this way is we looked at how the building fronts and how the garage sits on the site. And we wanted to make sure that at every corner possible, we had this engaged residential use, which is why we've brought down and interrupted and have residential coming around the edge to address and nestle up these other residences here. We've bisected the garage access along Singer Place so that we could have continuous public access throughout. So we have about 18 feet clear coming across here. So anything that needs to come across this garage or coming underneath can easily gain access. The garage will be well lit and secure. And really we're excited about how we're able to nestle all these active uses all the way around the edges of the building. You go to the next slide, please.
Just one point that I would make, and you'll see this more when David speaks, but one of the things that's really exciting you're seeing in a lot of downtowns is because we've created the Sanger Place entrance to the garage, we can close the Park Avenue entrance and use that drive aisle, which will be hardscaped, as part of expanding the front plaza and the festival area. So that can be closed off. You could put, Jump or the movie screen in there. Everyone will still be able to use the garage using Sanger. And then it creates another space, a third space. You have your existing green, the new plaza, and then a third space that can all work in conjunction. Now, you're not going to do that every weekend, obviously. But again, flexibility breeds more usage and more excitement. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Okay, so this is effectively the same slide, but now we're looking at the roof. And the reason that we're showing the roof is because what is really successful, or what helps make development successful, is multiple levels of interaction. So not only will you see that in the renderings we have balconies and engagement that will be happening from the building all the way around the street edge, that can interact and relate to those in the plaza, but we also will be having a roof amenity, which would be a green space, right? The access would be a jewel box that sits atop the elevator core here so that people can gain access. So you have multiple levels of activity. It's meant to be a quiet space with a lot of green infrastructure on top. Okay, so this is the image of facing the building that you're in right now. To kind of orient you, where I'm standing here is effectively right in front of Massa Pizza, right? So, and so the building, as you saw in the plans, the building's fairly large, right? So it's really important, and we spent a lot of time understanding the architectural style and what can we do to really break down the mass of the building as a whole. And there's a lot of different techniques that we use. I mean, the first thing is we use undulating roof lines. We use different styles. There's a variety of different vernacular styles of roof lines and strategies all throughout the community. So we've come in with reverse gables, sloped roofs, extended parapets. Our roof line really starts at the third floor, right? And we step back from there. The vision of how we break up these masses is also important, right? Changes in materiality, changing in fenestration, proportions. When you look around the community, it's very eclectic in the architectural styles that are represented here. So it's important to be able to come in and use different style windows. So sometimes we have a single joint, sometimes we double, we have archways. Our brick detailing, we'll have corning on the corning at the corners of our brick. We'll have stone lintels, we'll have water tables. All of these little details help differentiate and really nestle the building to the street edge, but also step back. Talking about this ground plane here, so this is the whole plaza deck area, and I'm going to show you an aerial next to kind of get a better feel of how much this building itself steps back. But the activity at the retail area, we have both frontage directly facing, but also set back in. It gives areas of flexibility, areas of coverage, opportunities for signage, but the architecture is continuous. You know, we take our brick piers all the way down. We make sure that the element reads as a whole, right? And it's very distinct as we break up each of the individual pieces. We utilize wraparound balconies at the same time we do bay balconies, right? Because the building needs to read as a community coming together, right? It's not a monolithic thing. It needs to be active and engaging on all sides. All right, next slide. Okay, so now we're about 30 feet up. So we're facing more to the inside here. You can see the depth, which is over 100 feet to our building face here. You can see the setbacks a little bit healthier here on the retail, where we step the retail frontage back and have a covered area along the side. At the same time, we also step the whole of the building back. We do a shed roof across this store frontage here that's going to define the residential amenity area. We come in and have distinctive elements to have a hierarchy, to define visual cues for entry points. So this is our residential entry here, where we have all brick elements, all engaged brick, all throughout the sides. On the left-hand side, we actually have elevated stepped area for the retail. Again, stepping back in, setting the retail back, so that we can have both uses that are directly related on grade, but also elevated as well. And then in terms of orienting you, we will have the drive as it comes through. This is the garage entry in the back. This is the access that is one way coming in through into the garage from this side. This, as Steve mentioned, will be able to be closed off, and so that you will have a continuous flow of park space all the way through. It's meant to be an active, flexible use throughout, where the architecture is meant as a framework for the actual activity of the town. Next
And while
slide.
we would love to take credit for that, actually, Mike Mistretta in the redevelopment plan really requires a public plaza in the front of the building for two reasons. One, to create additional public space that works well with your existing public space, but also to pull the building back off the street a little bit so that when you drive down Park, you're not getting a big building with shadows up on the sidewalk, which probably doesn't work here. So I think Mike deserves a lot of credit for that aspect of the plan.
I got that part right.
You got that part right.
District A, I'm not so sure.
Right.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is actually towards the back. So this is Singer Place here, this road here. So this is how, and this is facing from the residences on the side. You can see off in the corner, this is the garage behind, which will be brick clad. But you can really see that this is meant to be a residential frontage all throughout. It's meant to be walkable. You know, the garage is not an interruption, right? It's a continuation. And really, we think we did a great job of bringing in the residential components, the brick elements, the detailing. It'll be continuous all the way around the building.
Just one point on that too, and obviously this isn't a true image because there's a building there on the left, right? But the purpose of this slide, and you can talk to your municipal professionals, and a lot of times everybody worries about the front of the building, doesn't worry about the sides or the back of the building, and you can get really stale images. And the town was very worried about what were people going to see from the back, how can we hide the garage, and how can the residential feel continue all the way around the building. So you're seeing here all of the detailing that exists up on Park really wraps all the way around the building.
Next slide. Okay, so now I'm gonna touch on A. So just like at the beginning of B, wanted to go over through the programmatic elements of the site, right? So to orient you, across the top of the screen is Forest Road. On the right-hand side is Bartle Avenue. So this is at the corner of Bartle and Forest. So we have a main access point that will get to the garage, which again, that has the public spaces located all on the ground floor, covered through. The amenity and lobby area is facing Forest and hits the corner of Bartle. It was important to us to have a good, healthy recess back from this corner of both landscaping and circulation. There is a small one-way drop-off that allows you to come in, drop off, or stop and with uninterrupted access. On the left-hand side, you can see this U shape. This is residential, and you'll go and Dave will present the landscape elements and how that engage. But really, the placement of the architecture, again, is meant to screen and conceal the garage while providing the connectivity. It's just gestured in this. Again, Dave will go into a little bit more detail, but in order to give to really relate to the residential adjacent, we've included stoops, we've included bays, we have direct access that can get you right to the street, and we provided really healthy setbacks that relate to the street edge as a whole. This building is, while there was a lot of excitement with the plaza deck with B, this building, the style is a little bit more reserved, right? It's a little bit quieter, and you'll see that in the next image. Okay, so this is on the corner of Forest and Bartle. You can see in here, just slightly gestured, it's just the angle, but the access would be through here, the drop-off point here in this slightly darker gray area. Again, really important engaging the street edge. So we use elements like stoops, patios, porches, multiple different levels of screening off to the side. Our residential entry, which would be this metal, almost colonial style detailing, actually has an arcade and a recess as it relates. So it in itself has additional depth at that ground level that keeps you up off the sidewalk and allows circulation around the side of the building. We engage our balconies. We come back in and really emphasize the detailing of the posting so that we have strong elements that we then, again, step the building back out and away from, right? The roof line is articulated so that our roof edge is right at that third floor. We have dormers, we have bay windows, we have projections that come up, and that articulation up and down and that setback is really how you relate to the size and scale of the project. Having these stoops and this continuous brick edge and division anchors the building, right? We're going to be using quality materials throughout all the projects. Brick is really important to us, especially as we engage the street edge. Next slide. So here is Forest, but looking from the other side. And again, it just shows more of the architectural detailing. This building's meant to be quieter. This shows you kind of the pop-in of what the courtyard area would be. Different types of fenestration. Again, very similar to B. It's important to have different combinations of architectural elements so that the mass in itself breaks apart, and that you can read this as a residential street frontage. So this is looking up at Bartle, and this one we even took a scaling a little bit further and worked with townhouse style dimensions, right? You can see the verticality, the bang, the individual stoops as they engage. So they'll have steps up to their front door at that ground level. We don't carry the balconies all the way up all the time. It's important to not be the same, right? Having that movement with your eye up and down and across that vertical plane above you is important to understand the scale. You need to have depth, right? The massing is absolutely critical. As you go down here, you can see the alley, which we keep open. So this will now be faced with residential. We have green space, and then we have the garage, which then continues the roof line. So it blends in so that we have one continuous pitch all the way through. So the whole building reads as a step back entity.
So two quick things on this too. One of the reasons we wanted this angle was, first of all, to see what would the garage look like if you were on the other side of the street coming out of the parking lot behind Massa and the adjacent stores and music shop. The other thing is, because now we're getting closer to Park, the building presents a little bit more, I don't want to say forcefully, but it's really part of the downtown here. We're welcoming you in. You're only a half a block off of Park, as opposed to Forest, where we tried to make the building a little softer and look a little bit more soft residential. Here, we kind of wanted to step out this corner and say, hey, you're in downtown Scotch Plains. But by the same token, you really don't see the garage, which was hugely important to the town administration and its professionals. Dave, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Lustberg. As Steve mentioned, I'm with a firm called Arterial. Jordan, we can hop to the next slide here. So Arterial is a firm that I founded in 2009 in Montclair. After years in landscape architecture, really my passion at the time and still was around designing streets and public spaces in downtowns with a focus on New Jersey. That's where I grew up. So since then, 15 years, almost 16 years now, we've been designing streets and public spaces throughout New Jersey with a focus on sustainability, resilience, and really creating vibrant downtowns. We've worked, across the state, as Steve mentioned, Montclair, all the way across to Hoboken, Jersey City, Morristown, et cetera. So we're very happy to be part of this project. We're very excited about it. With me today, I have Nicole Vuno. Nicole's a project coordinator. She also happens to have grown up here in Scotch Plains, so the project holds a special place in her heart as well. So first, I'm just going to take you through a couple of examples. I know we've been going for a while here, but we'll move quickly. So Jordan, if you want to just go right ahead. So this is a project that we designed in Montclair, a recent one. This is the Wellmont Arts Plaza. So I'm just going to talk through some of the key elements of sort of downtown plaza design. So this is the Wellmont Arts Plaza. It's outside the Wellmont Theater. I'm actually going to use this pointer here. I've wanted to use one of these since I was in elementary school, so I'm going to go for it. So a couple things. First, the importance of the street edge, right? So you can see here we bump the curb out. That's a traffic calming measure. Safe pedestrian crossing here, right? Pedestrians can't walk out into the street. Here they can. I know that's an important part of the frontage here. Denoting the front of the plaza, and then creating a nice, flexible public space that has a variety of seating. Go ahead, Jordan. So here's a view sort of looking into the plaza. You can see bicycle parking. This is all that frontage area. Plenty of public space. Go ahead. But enough flexibility that when there's holidays, markets, things like that, the plaza is designed to accommodate all of those things. Go ahead. Towards the back of the plaza, sort of day to day, we have to think about what it's going to be like day to day, but then what it's going to also be like during events. So in the back of the plaza, plenty of flexible seating, all different types, lots of landscape and shade. But then during the holidays, they can set it up this way for a holiday event. Go ahead. And then looking back across the plaza, public art at the head of the plaza. Go ahead. And then it can be accommodated like this for big events, music, etc., whatever they'd like to do. So go ahead. This next project I'm just going to take you through quickly. This is not one of our projects, but it's one that we love. So this is larger than the square that would be here, the new square, but the elements are the same, right? So one of the things to point out important here is the edges, the activated edges, a lot of variety of seating and things to do. Lots of shade, lots of landscape, but also plenty of flexibility in the center. Here, you can see this, we call this the Instagram moment, right? Everything's about Instagram now in terms of marketing and photos and things like this. So we want to make sure that we have a nice spot where people can take that photo that they love. Go ahead. So this is just a zoom in on some of that flexible seating, nice social seating, quiet single seating for people. Nice high tops here, so it really creates a lot of diversity. Go ahead. And then this activation, some of these fun little stools, these outdoor ping pong tables, things like this are the types of things that we're considering. Go ahead. And then enough flexibility to have movie night, right, and things like small sort of community events like this. And then looking back, here's, here obviously the scale is much different here, but so the scale of this signage is different, but the elements are the same. This is one that we love in Fargo. This is North Dakota, and really this is just an element, this is another one of those Instagram moments, right? Just the gateway, entrance in, understated, and then you see right here, we call this a flush fountain. So this is a fountain that during the day, it can be a fountain, but then when we turn it off, it becomes a plaza. So it's usable space. So go ahead. And then you see how that same element becomes that photo point, that sort of spot that everybody loves to take a picture. Go ahead. All right, so that was very quick, just some of the sort of ideas. You'll see some of these sort of coming to life here in the plaza. And I think the most important thing on this slide right here is the word concept, because this is really a plaza for you, for the community, and you know it better than we do, except maybe for Nicole. So we've done our best to design this, but the idea is that we want to hear your feedback and really tailor the plaza so that it will become yours. So go ahead, Jordan. All right, so we've seen this image a number of times already, so I'm not going to speak to the site itself, but I think one of the most important pieces to take away from this that has been reiterated a few times is the village green, and then we're labeling this town square. We don't know if that's the name or not, but you can see how the two work together. This is sort of as it is today, as Steve said, maybe with some upgrades if that's needed. But the idea is you can see how this is a green space and this is more of a hardscape, and the idea is that they have a sort of symbiotic relationship together, right? So this is really an extension of that village green, and they can be activated together with a seamless connection here between the two. So go ahead, now we're going to zoom in. All right, so I'll take you around some of the elements of the plaza, right? So we'll start at the street edge at Park Avenue. Right, so you remember in the image that I showed at the Wellmont Arts Plaza, that bumped out curb at the entrance, right? So we're doing that, taking that same approach here, right? And what that does is that's a complete streets element. It calms traffic, slows the cars down at the frontage. It also reduces, from a sustainability perspective, it reduces the amount of asphalt, or it reduces the amount of vehicular surface, which is important to NJDEP and sustainability. Safety-wise, there's a mid-block crossing today that exists. So what this does is it emphasizes that mid-block crossing and bumps that corner out to make the pedestrian more visible, right? So it makes a safer crossing at that point. So that's that front edge. Then Steve mentioned the driveway here, right? So this is what we refer to as a flush driveway, right? So there are no curbs here. So basically a car pulls in, and it has to go up like a driveway apron, it goes up to 6 inches. That slows the cars down. So we don't want cars peeling in here to go into the garage. We want them slow, working their way through very slowly, and then coming through and entering the garage. So this is that flush element. There are bollards that keep the cars within that lane, but during events, as Steve mentioned, those bollards can be removed and shifted to here to close that lane, and then the plaza itself can open up and take advantage of this whole space. There's access to the garage from the rear, so we don't necessarily need this entrance for the garage to function. Then you'll see the pedestrian circulation around the perimeter, and this great one large plaza here, one nice large plaza here with the circulation between, and then the edge here, right? So what we want to do is take all this retail and frame that plaza with the retail, help the plaza activate the retail, and the retail activate the plaza. Those activated edges here, and then go ahead, Jordan. So this is a bird's eye aerial of the plaza, right? So a couple of those elements that I'll point out to you, right? So here's that vegetated edge. Here, this is the crosswalk that we were talking about, and here's that flush driveway, right? So cars come in, they come through flush, bollards on either side, showing a nice bosque of trees. And again, these are potential elements. This is all movable and shiftable and that kind of thing, right? The edges here, we're showing those active edges, some seating along this edge, that sort of nice, social seating here in the corner, a couple of ping pong tables. We have the outdoor dining and cafe area here with some overhead string lighting. And this here in the center is that focal point element, right? That Instagram moment. Is this long bench. Maybe this has the plaza name on the face of it. And then behind it, we can see that flush plaza, that flush fountain, right? So that interactive fountain behind it, right? So this is something that kids can kind of run in day to day, but then if we want, we shut the fountain off and the plaza is wide open. Go ahead. So here's a view from within the plaza, right? So this is on the approach. Plaza here on the left, Park Ave is on our right. So here we are crossing that flush crossing. Here's that driveway coming through, some of that cafe seating under the tree bosque. You can see that feature bench with the fountain behind it here. and just creates nice circulation, nice shade, plenty of seating, and really a nice open flexible plaza. Go ahead. And here's a view from the other angle, right? So this is the cafe seating on the right, that overhead string lighting. We're showing a couple of musicians in here. You could see how this, by setting this back and providing this space, this really activates the downtown and becomes a real hub and a real town square. Go ahead. So how does this get programmed, right? So now we did just a couple of quick diagrams on how this could get programmed. We're not suggesting this is how it will get programmed, but these are different ways just to show how this space could be used, right? So day to day, we look at the space here. We can see that important connection to the village green here coming through. So this is your sort of day-to-day programming. We're showing maybe a vendor cart here in the corner, that seating. Go ahead. But then maybe when there's music in the park, we could have a stage here in the plaza. We can set up food trucks here on the driveway to activate that plaza, right? And this space can be transformed. Here we're showing it spreading, and you could see that relationship between the park and the plaza itself, right? And we're showing two stages here. It could be that there's a stage here in the park and not one here, and this becomes something else. This becomes tents or things like this, right? So there's a lot of flexibility when you sort of build upon the success of that. Go ahead. Now, we're calling this farmers market, and we work with a lot of towns on helping to lay out farmers markets in downtowns, so I'm not going to pretend like this is how the farmers market would lay out. But these are 10 by 10 tents. We realize that the real estate that you have for the farmers market is very large right now. But this is a configuration showing 10 by 10 tents and how that may be accommodated within the plaza, within the new plaza space, and then spilling into the park. You can see here, we've taken those bollards, we've moved them to the front, and now we can use this entire space for the market. Go ahead. And then this shows an example of what sort of a movie night might look like, right? You could set up the movie screen. In this option, we chose to keep the driveway open, just to show another iteration. Maybe there are some tents set up in the park, some food trucks on the street, and you set up your movie night here in the plaza itself. So looking back, this is sort of our first pass at how this plaza might come together. We feel like it can really become an asset to the downtown, not only activating, not only the people coming in to help activate the space, but also the way that this can work to activate the downtown itself. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thank you. District C, that's our district. Township's district is District C in this program. Tonight is Woodmont's night to present District A and District B. There will be another informational meeting on District C when the town is ready to prepare a presentation similar to tonight and show everybody in the community where the new town hall and a new library are going to be located. If we could just, there we go. This is my only drawing. I don't have any pretty drawings tonight. I only have a concept plan. We needed to prepare a concept plan because the township, as Steve mentioned earlier, Dynamic is working on the engineering of District A, B, and C under one DEP permit. So Dynamic's doing all of the work, the heavy lift on District A and District B, and for the township to piggyback on that application down to the DEP and become part of that individual permit, we are required to show the DEP the outer limits of what the proposed development will look like on District C. So we prepared this concept, and is literally just that, a true concept plan. It's a relocation of our library, town hall, fronting on Bartle Avenue, with the parking structure behind it. And there we go. There's one driveway in, and there's very little other information shown on that drawing, and that's intentional because we don't have it yet. The township hasn't engaged a team like you have in front of you that has gone through that detailed analysis, programming, community meetings on District C. That will happen. It's going to be part of a separate informational meeting, just like tonight, when the town's professionals will present to you what the town hall and library will look like. The building footprint that we put together is probably larger than what we need, but until the architects do their programming, all the meetings with the library board, all of that information will be figured out at that time. The information that the sand color that you see on the plan represents a 3-story building estimated and an overall 40% increase in the gross floor area of what is today in the town hall and library combined. I'm not suggesting that's going to be the size of it. We just needed to provide the outer perimeters, the outer footprint of the building so that we can get this permitted with the DEP. The rest of the parking structure behind the building is all public parking. And as you saw, there's public parking on District A, District B, and then there's public parking on District C as well. All public parking, again, is being replaced 1 for 1, so there's no loss of public parking throughout the downtown. And again, that's all I have on District C. There will be a separate informational meeting as these plans develop further.
Okay. And on that, to talk about Mike with future meetings and what's going on, so I just want to touch a bit on the timeline. You know, we've heard from Woodmont. They went through their plans for District A and B that they're building and constructing. We talked a little bit about District C. So what we're doing here tonight, obviously, we're about to, you know, take your questions and feedback so that Woodmont can hear it on these designs, so that they can go back and incorporate any feedback and anything that they hear tonight to refine these plans and finalize them. So, you know, we've kind of been talking about the DEP and those rules and how they kind of came down. Like Steve said, they're the strictest in the country. We had to really spend the last 3 years working on those, analyzing them, getting our line verification approval in 2024, like we said. So that, you know, that's set us back a little, but we feel that we've worked collaboratively enough that we understand, and we've met with the DEP several times, that we think we're in alignment with their rules and their goals. So after we incorporate the feedback, we're going to, you know, Woodmont's engineers and our engineers will work on the DEP individual permit application, which is the next step. We are planning on filing that sometime this year. Like Mike was saying before about, you know, Woodmont's professionals and our professionals, while Woodmont is working on the DEP permit and getting that all together, you know, an integral part of this whole plan is relocating police, fire, and rescue to Plainfield Avenue. So what we're working on behind the scenes while Woodmont's doing this is working on our plans for the public safety building. We're working with our construction managers on the design, scrutinizing every room, every square footage. You know, costs have gone up. We're trying to make sure that what we're building is what we need. So we're working on all those design documents. We're planning on soliciting those bids sometime this year, and then hopefully breaking ground on the public safety building next year. It's an estimated about 2 years to build. So after the public safety building is built and the police and fire and rescue are relocated to Plainfield Avenue, Woodmont will start in District B with the plaza and all that. That's first. Then, after District B is built, because we're trying to break all this down, not construct everything at once, especially on the township side, we'll get to District C. So we don't have to temporarily relocate police or fire. They'll go right into their new building. Same with the rescue squad. And then we'll get to District B. That'll be the time where we fully design, get into that as we approach that timeline, answer all those questions on the library. Right now, we're focused on spending time and money on Plainfield Avenue. After District C is built, the library will relocate to the new building. We don't have to temporarily relocate them, and then Woodmont will build on District A. So in all the different districts and phasing, it's full build out. Everything is about 7 to 10 years completion for the whole project. And I think that's everything we have for right now. We're happy to take questions.
So, hi, for those of you who came in after we started and after I gave my little how the evening was going to flow speech, there are cards, index cards in the on the benches. If you don't want to come up to the microphone and ask a question, you're certainly welcome to jot something down, whether it's a question or feedback, and there is a box in the hallway where you can leave that. For those of you who know how our council meetings run, we're going to kind of follow the same structure. We ask that you come to the microphone. Tom, can we, I don't want anybody to, thank you, on their head on that. That would be bad. Come up one at a time. We ask that, again, that we're going to, or remind you that we're going to have questions answered once, so we don't have a lot of repetition. These, we're also requesting that the questions and comments are about this Woodmont project that you were presented with tonight. So without further ado, if anybody would like to come to the microphone and ask a question, you can come around. We're going to use this microphone up here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Start.
Nate?
You knew it was going to be me.
Name and address, right?
Yeah,
So-
and you can, and name and address.
Chris San
And
Miguel.
you don't have to give just your name and address for the record yet.
Chris San Miguel. I live on Sycamore Avenue. So I know the real rules for the DEP are much stricter, but we all know that government runs at a lag. So even though they are the strictest in the country, they're probably not sufficient for 10 years from now, because our storms are just getting worse and our town is flooding worse and worse. So I want to know, what are the flood mitigation designs that are going to be incorporated for things like the plaza? Are we going to have porous pavement with retention underneath it? All kinds of things can be done. Are you going to build bioswells? Are you going to build bioretention ponds within that? So can anyone comment?
Yeah, of course. My name is Shane Plocoy. I'm with Dynamic Engineering, and to answer your question, each respective district will be built or designed and built in compliance with both the NJDEP's regulations regarding the flood hazard area individual permit, as well as their regulations for stormwater management, and each district will comply with those regulations individually.
But that's even just, I mean, I know currently it's like 1.25 inches over 2 hours is the design storm. That's insufficient. We had 8 inches last summer in 2 hours. So that's not sufficient, and that's not the first time it's happened in this area. I've lived here since 2014, and we've had 3 floods like that. So in 12 years, we've had 3 floods. That is taking over the street. So to design it to the regulations is
Well,
insufficient.
In fairness, the regulations do require us to have the buildings up where there's holding places underneath, and they have to have dry access all the way out. And I would point out that the built A, B, and C are currently all pervious pavement, right? Without any stormwater controls in place at all, built in the 50s and the 60s.
I
So we'll be
understand that.
obviously doing a much better job. I'm going to willing to bet that we'll have more impervious surface than exists in those 3 lots now. And then we have to collect the water, retain the water, and then put it somewhere safely. I'm not saying Scotch Plains is never going to flood again, but we're certainly going to not exacerbate the problem, and probably to a certain extent mitigate the problem.
Okay, and I want you to do more to mitigate the problem.
Okay, fair enough.
And just on the comment about the projection, I mean, one of the things about the new rules, right, is that we're taking rainfall data in and projecting it out, what, 50 years? 100 years? I don't know
Yeah,
it's 2100. So the flood rules that, the measurements and the studies and everything that they had Woodmont do reflect until the year 2100, not 10 years. So it's supposed to go well beyond that. Part of the problem was we were using rainfall data for projects built from 1999. And we've now the DEP has now updated all that to current and future projections, including climate change and everything. Projects built beforehand were using data from 1999 as what rainfall was while they were developing. So these guys are all using stuff that's supposed to withstand up until 2100.
And there's a lot of variation in what people are projecting to 2100.
Right.
Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Kayla Fiore, and I live on Newark Avenue. I am an incoming junior at Ithaca College currently, and I found a place within this building, specifically right out there on that stage right behind this building with Stars Theater for 12 years. I'm currently studying theatrical direction, a path that I truly do not think I would have found without that stage out there. I started performing with stars when I was 6 years old, and year after year, I kept coming back because it felt like home. It felt like a place where I could be creative, take risks, and grow into myself. Whatever was happening outside of this space did not matter once I stepped onto that stage, and for many young people, especially kids trying to figure out who they are, spaces like this become more than just a stage. They become a source of confidence, belonging, and community, and I cannot imagine who I would be without having had that outlet growing up. I actually wrote my college essay about that stage and about what it felt like to stand there and look out onto the green at my family and friends sitting in lawn chairs and on picnic blankets. To some people, it looked like a small outdoor stage, but that was the biggest Broadway theater, sold out. It felt magical. It felt like home. As years go on, there's fewer and fewer opportunities for local theater and arts education. Community spaces dedicated to arts are disappearing, and with them disappear opportunities for young people to discover passion, confidence, discipline, and connection. If redevelopment does not include a space like this, you are not just taking away a stage, you're taking away a place where generations of children have learned to express themselves, support one another, and feel seen. I'm pursuing this work professionally because of what that stage out there gave me. And there are kids sitting at home right now, there are parents in the audience with kids who deserve the same opportunity that I had. The chance to step onto that stage and discover something about myself. Thank you so much.
You know, quick story on that. When we were first getting involved a few years ago, the mayor and the administration took me out to the stage and said, this is a big, important part of our community. And one of the things we're trying to do, and I think you saw that in the images, is not just be able to provide that stage, but to build on it, make it better, make it more usable, maybe make more than one. So we're with you 100%. That's what gets people into town, right? And think about it, they come to town, they go for pizza, they go for ice cream, they hang out, you see your neighbors. As we get more and more addicted to our phones and our internet, that's what these spaces are providing. So good for you for coming out. We agree with you 1,000%, and we'll deliver on that.
Hi, good evening. My name's Dan. I live at 412 Forest, so kind of right in the center of all the action here. Just two semi-self-interested questions, and I know a lot of the literature online. I've emailed you a million times, Mr. Cho. Thank you for everything. A lot of things had, I guess, town hall and library were District B or A, depending on whose diagram we're looking at, is going to be located, so not C. So one of the questions is more related to C, but since it's part of the DEP single application, I figured I'd ask. Tree coverage at the back of all the houses that currently exist. I think it's mostly on the municipal lot side, maybe not. I just want to make sure there's going to be somewhat of a buffer. I know Woodmont seems to have done a great job considering kind of that difference between residential streets and kind of blending on the communities. I want to make sure the town is going to consider that as well if it's going to be municipal space behind our house and all of our neighbors.
I believe the answer is, I mean, as Mike explained, I'll let him talk about it, but as he explained, kind of what we showed was what we have to send to the DEP is like the max footprint. It's not fully designed, but the plan addresses buffers, and we're trying to put as much space in between there as we can.
And tree space, hopefully.
Trees.
And tree space, yeah. There is
Tall trees.
There is a buffer strip shown on our concept plan on District C,
Yeah.
but in all fairness, it's I think it says 10 foot right now.
Yeah.
But if we can make that much larger, we will, or expand upon that and have more trees in there, absolutely.
Okay.
Remember, on District C, we had to provide the largest possible footprint for this DEP permit, and our goal is to work within that footprint. So I can't make you any promises tonight, other than there will be another meeting like this
I'll be back,
on
yeah.
Town Hall, Library, public parking deck on District C, and we will give you the whole presentation and the details.
Perfect. And then the second question to the Woodmont plan, with the... Apologies.
There you go. Okay.
Is it not on?
No, it's on. The mic is on. It's really for the local TV and Facebook, not for this room. So if people can't hear you, if you would raise your voice a little.
So my second question is in regards to the, I guess, garage access on Forest Road into the District B, A building.
We're going to switch it.
Cool.
Yeah.
No worries.
A.
So knew a lot of people in Scotch Plains before I moved into years ago. They specifically mentioned Forest is a notorious cut through. I very much have learned that in my 2 years here and seeing T-boning, someone hit by a car right at the corner of Bartle and Forest. it's crazy. I have a camera outside. You can see, I can look at any point of the day, see a car going 40 miles an hour down the street. Is there a consideration for, and also considering it's kind of a feeding street to the schools, tons of kids all day, morning and afternoon. Is there a thought into, how we're going to better manage, now adding all of those apartment residents on the street? There's going to be probably a slower traffic on Park, probably more cars going through. Just want to point that out since obviously it is a very residential area, lots of kids, lots of bikes, all of that. So thank you guys.
We totally appreciate that, and we also appreciate the sensitivity of Forest. Even though it's only a block off a park, starts to get very residential very quickly. So you saw we did step back at the corner of Bartle and Forest to create a very safe sightline. That's part of one of our considerations. But we could certainly look more closely at that. But we completely understand the Forest Street neighbors, and we're trying to make our scale and our design sensitive to that.
Design looked great. This is only in regards to parking, or maybe it's more police and enforcement, but we can discuss later. Thank you guys very much.
Hi, my name is Stephen. I live on Cheyenne Way by Brookside Park. I'm on South Avenue. And my concern is parking, all right? I live right by the family development. It's great what they've done there, but I've spoken to a lot of store owners there. And what the issue is, there is now less parking spaces for public parking. Well, I used to be able just to pull into the post office. Now I have to walk a 5-minute walk. The new retail stores, they are complaining because they don't have enough parking for themselves, their employees, and customers, okay? I just hope that you're considering, with all the new retail stores you're doing, that's great. But where are these employers, employees going to park? Okay, do you have enough retail space? I love the new parking spot you're going to put across the street by the library. Of course, every time I come here during lunchtime, I can't find a parking spot, so I avoid lunchtime now. But that would be great. Okay. Now, how many new stores are you planning on putting?
Well, it's 10,000 square feet of retail under the redevelopment plan.
Mm-hmm.
Difficult to say what the market's going to call for. I'm going to say 3, but we in our project down in Metuchen, we put in a Mexican restaurant that wanted 5,000 square feet. So we were happy to oblige. That's a big restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So probably won't be that big, but the goal would be to fill it up with active uses. And and you mentioned lunchtime. I think a lot of the issue with parking down here in lunchtime is because this building is open and everybody's at work. This building's not going to be here anymore.
Right.
So hopefully it's going to be a lot easier at lunchtime because it's just going to be people that want to have lunch or pick up some stamps.
Well, that's great. You got a lot more parking for lunch. But what I was looking at is, okay.
Did I just say pick up some stamps? I'm like 100 years old.
Okay, but now you have 350 new units going up.
Yes.
How many cars are you projecting for each unit? I mean, if you got a married couple, I would think at least 2 cars for, I don't know how many married couples you expect. I would think a married couple will have at least 2 cars. And if they have a teenage child, you will have another potential third.
Right. Well, no one gets 3 spaces.
Plus, you also have...
That's in the lease. But
Plus-
let me...
plus-
Go ahead. I'm
plus-
sorry.
What happens if all these people want to have guests, company coming?
Sure.
You're going to utilize all that parking? Are you just going to have parking just for the residential units and just some for public parking? You're going to have separate parking for each? Or were those people who have the residential units, are they going to inadvertently start taking up the parking spaces because they're running out of space?
Certainly a policing issue. So just real quickly, what wasn't mentioned is what's very popular now and what we'll be doing here is the parking decks will align with the floors of the building. So if you live on the 3rd floor, you go up to the 3rd floor of the parking deck and you go in the door into your hallway. So everybody who lives on the third floor wants to park on the third floor of the deck. So the parking automatically evens itself out in the deck because not everyone's looking for the first floor
Okay.
to be able to get into the lobby.
But do you have enough spaces? Are you projecting enough spaces based on how many units are on there?
Yeah,
If
so-
if you have at least, like I said, a married couple, I would think 2 cars and possibly a third. And where do the guests park? Do you have a separate floor just for guests? I don't know. That's
No, all great points, and you should know that the town has its parking requirements in the redevelopment plan. We do a lot of downtown redevelopment. Respectfully, I disagree with you. There's not 2 cars per apartment because there's 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom homes. So we have our own calculations. What we found internally to our
Well, that's
to
what
our
I'm asking. What are your
matches-
calculations?
We're at like 1.8, which probably, if I went to Jersey City with 1.8, they would throw me out and say, it's 0.2.
All right.
So much, we understand Scotch Plains is in Jersey City, but I'm just letting you know, in central Philadelphia, you can't have any parking. So it's different by community, but we think 1.8 is very, very generous. Again, a large chunk of these apartments are 1 bedroom.
Now, the other issue is with all this increased population all around the town, not just downtown, but all around the town. We only have 1 train station, Fanwood. I'm retired now. I was having issues when I was working to find a parking spot. I hate to see what's going to happen in the future when all these other new people working want to work in Manhattan. It's just,
Parking around the train station is tricky.
and is there going to be a
shuttling.
shuttle from downtown for those people who want to work and take a train?
We have shuttled in a number of our communities. We'll determine the demand for that. And if there's a demand, we'll certainly provide it. If it gives it, think about it from a business perspective. You seem like a guy. So if it
I'm a
gives us
CPA. I'm a CPA.
perfect. So if it gives us a leg up on the competition that we're going to provide a shuttle van to the train station, we're going to do it.
That's great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Steve, just to go back, we were talking about the retail space. I think you guys are working on some kind of liquor license
Right.
deal
Yeah, so
here,
we
right?
are under contract to purchase a liquor license that was actually about to get transferred out of town. So we're saving that in the community, and we're purchasing that so that we know, and again, we've done this before, and where we're smart enough, because we're not always that smart, to purchase a liquor license in advance, it's really worked wonderfully for us. The Roots, for instance, we weren't getting Roots in Morristown if we didn't already own a liquor license that we had bought out of bankruptcy 3 years before the building was done. And we did the same thing in Metuchen. They were about to lose a license that had been dormant for years. We purchased that, and we had it for the Mexican restaurant that's now world famous. I don't know if you saw this in the paper. Our Mexican restaurant in Metuchen is a Guinness Book of World Records for the most tequilas in the world. Over 1,000 tequilas in this amazing array behind the bar. And I actually went to the ceremony, and there was a guy there in the red pipe suit with a British accent that was probably fake, and he gave him like a whole plaque about how they were the Guinness Book of World Record holders. I apologize for taking you.
Right.
Don't start the clock. I took his time.
He's good. So I really want to say, when looking at what you guys were presenting, by the way, my name is Joe Schiavo. I live on Algonquin Drive. So when I saw the plans, it took me back, and it's like, wow, that's really going to be an amazing space, and it's going to transform the town. And I've been living here 30 years. So, and when I saw 7 to 10 years, I'm like, But I remember, Mr. Mayor, when you first got in a job, you were like, God, this is years back. Look what they dumped on us. So you guys did a great job in terms of where you have it now. So just try to move faster. So how many now, the population of the town, right? How is this going to increase by? Like, how many families? How many school-age children?
Right. So we have, like I mentioned before, we manage over 3,000 apartments across New Jersey. And there's been a lot of school-age studies that have been done. And what I can tell you is the affordable apartments will generate more school-age kids for a number of reasons. First of all, because it's an avenue for people with lower incomes to get into a quality school system. There's also 20% of the affordable apartments have to be 3-bedroom, right? We're not doing market rate 3 bedrooms. I guarantee you there will be at least one child, school-age child, in every 3-bedroom. So we calculate typically about 1 school-age kid for 2 affordable units, right? Which is really, really a high number when you look at the market. On the market side, we've seen as low as 1 school-age kid for 20 to 25 units, and as much as 1 school-age kid for 11 units. So we don't see this generating more than probably max 50. But again, the affordable apartments have to go somewhere. So if those children don't come out of our community, they're going to be in another affordable development, and they're coming. And that's the reality that all of us in New Jersey have to face. Like it or not like it, the Mount Laurel Doctrine is not going anywhere after 45 years. And we all have to deal with it. What I can tell you is this style of development does not typically attract a lot of children to the market rate units. Think about it. These will not be inexpensive apartments, right? They're going to be $27,000, $28,000, $3,000, $3,200. Not a great place to raise your kid in the middle of the downtown. There's no basketball hoop, there's no leaves. So a lot of times you're not seeing that family environment, even though you will get some, and you'll get some that'll be here through kindergarten, and they'll be savagely looking for a place in Scotch Plains or Fanwood to buy. Hopefully the housing market eases. We'll see. But as opposed to the community that was built at the old Bullcraft site, I don't know what their school-age kid generation is, but much more amenable to raising families, right? It's more of a suburban environment than a downtown environment.
Right, but so to your point, right, what you were saying, this wonderful downtown area now is going to attract a lot of people for this town, make it more desirable. And there's going to be, because of the way the economy goes, right, some of those 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom houses, they're going to have kids, right? And they're going to, I want to live in Scotch Plains. So then they're going to have to build more in Scotch Plains, right? So the elephant in the room now is, I know this isn't the meeting for it, but where's the sort of connection now with the school board about how do we now, look for, because it's going to be 10 years from now, and it takes the kind of plan like you guys do to build new schools or bigger schools.
These are all excellent points, and they're all points that are being wrestled with, across the state. What I can tell you, just a couple things. There'll be no kids in the 1-bedrooms. They're because of the way the leasing works, it doesn't happen. I'm not telling you there's not going to be any kids. There will be children that are generated by our community. All I'm telling you is a downtown, multi-story, garage-parked community like this is the least generator of school-age kids. And that's in the Rutgers study, right? The Listigan study that was done. What it did was, and I don't want to get in too far into the weeds, but it took all different styles of communities, right? Older communities generate more school-age kids than newer communities for a whole host of reasons. 3-story versus 4-story, amenitized versus non-amenitized, downtown versus suburban. All of these have different coefficients, and the lowest coefficient is downtown, multi-story, highly amenitized Class A apartment communities, which is what we're developing here.
Okay, so I want to finish now, but maybe then you could tell me, Mr. Mayor, where do the people in the community start to engage with the town and or the school system about the school? Because that's a whole nother, probably way behind you guys, in my opinion.
Right.
No, so, I'm sorry.
May I just for a second?
Yeah.
We have an ongoing dialogue with the
Yeah,
school
so I was
board.
gonna say.
Evan Murray, who recently stepped down, and the superintendent and the deputy superintendent and our team have met over the years, and over the years, meaning I joined the council in 2019, and those conversations were already happening. And at the same time, as Mr. Santola explained, a project like this should generate fewer children than if the affordable units were going into our neighborhoods. And it's a fact of the affordable housing laws that I don't think any of us like. The fact that under the law, infrastructure in your town, school children coming out of these projects are not relevant under the law to our obligation to comply, to have a constitutional obligation to provide affordable housing. So we're navigating it as best as we can and minimizing it as much as we can.
Okay.
But as you know, last year the schools had a referendum. They're they're in the process of constructing a new school now, and they are very crowded. And things like this, I always advocate to residents to write their state legislators seeking some reform. But the conversations are happening. I could assure you of that.
Thank you.
And before we adopted our fourth round plan, I alluded to it a little bit before, Margaret and I met with the business administrator and the superintendent. We went over them where the court was, where our plan was going to focus the developments, what the court was saying. And we told them that as things, like you said, 10-year plan, as this ramps up, we will be in communication with them. We walked them through our fourth round plan and what we were expecting. And as the mayor said, when they give us our number, school age, that's not a factor that they give you when assigning your number. They throw other things at you. Like Steve said, it's something that all municipalities are facing. But we try to speak to the school board as much as we can, especially when there's a project we know is going to happen. So that's on their radar.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you very much. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate that comment very much. This has been every day for years to get here. Thank you. And the fact that you're a 30-year resident and supported the project, thank you. Yes.
Good evening, Eric Felon, Gallagher Avenue, Scotch Plains. So the complex, the drawings, everything beautiful, well done, beautiful architectural work, everything. Drawings, it's very appealing. I do have to say that. Very enticing. Makes me want to go be a young adult again and go move into an apartment and live. I see these places all up and down North Ave, like, oh, everybody's having a good time. And I see the attraction.
Just let me
and the
interrupt
lure.
you for 1 second. 25% of our overall apartments are rented by 55 and overs. So you are
Are they
welcome.
all divorced?
You are welcome.
I'm married happily. So anyway.
Because this will be on Facebook forever.
Very happily.
I think all of us are.
For the record, right? So, you bring up master plan, 1956. I do
76.
want to, what is it?
76.
1976, okay. So, 50 years ago, give or take, yeah. So, back then, the amount of residents in Scotch Plains was probably fluctuating around 16,000. Today, we're about 25,000. Back then, you had about 1.5, 1.2 cars per family. Now we have about 2.8 cars per household here in Scotch Plains. So I just want to bring up these facts that the population, and we all know, is getting more crowded. I love how your artwork up there showed the amount of cars on the street that were back in 1976, probably. There was 4 cars parked, I counted, and 2 driving, which is not realistic, but, and nonetheless, that's
We don't want to
standard
obscure
practice.
the buildings.
Yes. A concern I have also is the power lines. It didn't show power lines. I know there's a big concern for the tall power lines for the data centers and everything that are starting to be popping up everywhere, Fanwood especially. So I don't know what your direction is for the power lines, where they're going to sit. How many units did you say were in the total complex?
350.
Well, we hate that word.
Apartments.
Complex. Apartment
Compound.
community. We build
Apartments.
communities, our residents live in homes.
All right. So
There's 350, that's in both.
350
120
combined
something in-
apartments, right?
Right, yes, correct.
Okay. So 350, I know parking's a big concern. I think you said 419 spaces. Is that combined, or is that just one of the
That was
buildings?
one district.
That's one district.
That's one district. How many total parking spaces? And were these plans laid out? And the reason I bring this up is because recently in Fanwood, I think it was 40 South or whatever, They pitched plans for parking, but they forgot to include in the plans that there's going to be support columns, which occupied a lot of those parking spaces. So there's less parking spaces than were originally planned.
Well,
So I can answer
Chris,
that
just
question.
assure everyone that you know where the columns go.
Just saying.
There are none.
Because once it's up, it's up.
So the garage itself is precast, so there are no columns in between it. It does have load-bearing walls on the outside edges, so they are free to park and stripe it as they need to. And just to answer your question, in B, we have 419 parking spaces within the garage, and then 251 parking spaces within A.
And the design is designed so that the first floor of the parking garage that will be on this property has the same number of spaces that are outside, that are for the public, that our residents.
So
can't
how
park.
many spaces in total for the public did we allocate?
11.
Well, there's 311 that will be replaced, but the other thing is the retail that Woodmont is building has its own parking requirement as well, which will also technically be public parking because it won't just be assigned to there. It'll work just the way it does now, which is shared.
311 spots are being replaced with how many?
Replace, I don't know if you guys have that,
For the public, not for the residents?
yeah, 311, but what I'm saying is there
Replace with
is retail
311.
parking that they're providing as well for their 10,000 square feet. Yes,
So 311 public plus parking for the retail?
yes.
And then this is also a question to the council. One thing that the town loves and beholds with our parkings here when we go to these businesses along the main strip is it's free. Are we going to start seeing meters pop up everywhere?
A final decision has not been made, but it's expected, it's anticipated that there'll be free parking for a short period of time.
15 minutes or an hour?
To be determined down the road.
The other thing, excuse me, on the parking is, the parking right now is also taken up by our public safety staff, our township staff, so a lot of the parking spaces that are going to now be all public won't be occupied by myself, the mayor, Tom, our fire department, police department, so that, we're going to free all those up by putting them somewhere else.
Okay.
As far as this district.
They'll tell you they pay a lot in taxes. The last thing they want to do is have to fuddle with an app and put in 50 cents for an hour or something like that. But finally, I just want to bring up something else here in relation to things that had recently, Fanwood numbers that I've looked at through the help of somebody else. So, pilot, I understand. Pilot is payment in lieu of taxes, and I want the public to know that the council gets money, the town gets money, sorry, not the council, the town gets money, and the school does not. So when I look at numbers, Fanwood recently developed 140 apartments. That's less than half of what we're developing, over 5 developments. And through pilot, the town of Fanwood, the Scotch Plains Fanwood School District lost $472,000. That's less than half of the apartments being built, okay? So I speculate at least $1 million not going to the school system for a project of this capacity in pilot. You guys want the families and the children of Scotch Plains to invest in you. We ask that you all invest in the families and the children here in Scotch Plains and give back to the school and scratch the pilot or donate a good portion. Thank you.
Let me just address that real quick. So, because we hear this all the time, and it's just not true. There's nobody gypping the school district. If you know how the school budget works, right? What happens? They pass a budget and they hand a bill to the town. And the town goes out and assesses everybody's property, collects everything, settles all the litigation. The school board has no apparatus to do any of that. The percentage of the dollar that's paid in taxes is a look back into last year, because there's no looking forward, because the Board of Ed makes up its own budget. I'm not saying they don't do a great job here in Scotch Plains, but they just hand a bill to the town council. The town council raises the money then through the tax levy, net So they're free to give as much money as they want to the Board of Ed, first of all. But second of all, there's nobody taking any money away. If I move to town and pay $1 in taxes, 40 cents doesn't get sent to the Board of Ed.
I understand that. I understand that. But payment in lieu of taxes means if money went to property taxes, what do we get? About 60-something% goes to the school district if it was all through property tax. But now we're looking, I think, about 95% goes straight to the town. And we're not getting any of that to the school district. And this is what's hurting the schools. So I know recently the town, pat their back that, oh, we don't have to raise our taxes so much on the town budget. But now the school has to raise their taxes because they're not getting the money that they would have been entitled to if it was property tax. Now, one more thing I do want to make. So Pilot was developed decades and decades ago to rehabilitate deplorable communities that nobody wants to move into. Scotch Plains is not a community that people don't want to move into. In fact, it's just the opposite. There's a ton of demand to live here in Scotch Plains. So the abuse of using Pilot and it's not here, it's everywhere in New Jersey. This is a big cancer in our state right now with developers abusing and towns abusing the Pilot program, which was really developed for enticing businesses and people to move into dilapidated towns and communities.
Yeah, so Eric, if I can just respond, you're sort of stealing my thunder for the next presentation we're going to be doing.
Okay.
So I hope you come back to that presentation, and I hope everybody comes to that presentation, because one of the things that we're going to do is provide first an education on pilots, how they're utilized, where they're utilized in every municipality in the state, urban, suburban, out in Hunterdon County, Sussex County, you name it, pilots are used everywhere. We will talk in detail about what the Board of Ed does or does not lose, about how their budget is 100% funded, no matter how many pilots you do or don't have, and we will talk through the impacts financially and, to the gentleman earlier, demographically, about number of school-age children, total population, impact to the municipal budget, which is important, all from our own professionals' perspective, not from, although they're great, they look very trustworthy, but we're going to get our own validation on those things, and we'll take the public through a complete public presentation and Q&A on a pilot so that everybody is equally informed on the benefits and drawbacks of a pilot.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I know the Board of Ed can do more to sharpen their tools and the cost to the town. And they're not perfect, but nobody is. So I'm just hoping that we could do more here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Good evening. John Kaczynski, 535 Henry Street. A couple of comments on the proposal today. With regard to the public spaces that, your space planner had gone with many different options, what is the cost-sharing arrangement being contemplated? I don't think you've finalized that, but, who pays for the person that slips on the fountain during a town event? And who schedules the events and how is that?
Just know that every time I have a meeting with your mayor, he fleeces me. So I think we're still in those conversations. We're building it. We're designing it pursuant to what ultimately gets approved by the planning board, and we're constructing all of it. The plan right now is that we will maintain it for the first year or two, and then we will dedicate it to the town. The town will always schedule it. Obviously, if we wanted to do something, we could, get on the schedule. But my understanding, Tom, if I'm wrong, you'll say, the town through the rec department will be scheduling, like it schedules the green, it'll be scheduling the plaza. So we're building it, we're maintaining it at the outset to make sure the trees stay alive, to make sure that it takes the form, because it is our front yard. We want to make sure it's right. And then we'll be turning that over to the town at some point.
Okay, so 1 to 2 years, and then is there any cap or floors to the ongoing expenses? Because, bricks will deteriorate in that. Is there any sort of capital fund, sinking fund that
we haven't gotten that
would
far.
not in that? Well, I just would offer that.
No, it's good. It's good
that
thoughts.
we don't wind up taking care of your buildings 10 years from now.
We definitely won't take care
while
of their
you're raising the rent in those apartments. The second comment is probably more directed to the town as opposed to Woodmont, but that regarding flooding. And in the number of presentations that the council has brought here, we had in the Greenbrook Flood Authority come down to talk about what the issues are. And we've had the Army Corps of Engineers do a very detailed study, which was Plan A, which would solve the problem, was estimated at $1 billion. That basically, takes in issues across the road. So it's gravity, and it's the topography, it's the quarry on New Providence that contributes to what winds up on Park Avenue when it rains 2 inches, 8 inches, whatever. So, to the council, are we trying to do something to encourage the federal government to take a better look, and also Union County, which is responsible for the drainage system that's on the north side of 22. So again, you gentlemen could do whatever you want with regard to your engineering. You can't control gravity, and you can't control what comes down the hill, but the topography will. So I would just, comment to that.
Yeah, it's, as you said, it's not for tonight's presentation, but the answer is yes. We're not satisfied with their pace either, the Army Corps' pace either, but we're in constant contact with Congressman Kane's office, with our U.S. Senators' offices, with our Greenbrook Flood Control Commission, trying to effectuate some positive changes there. I'm not satisfied, though. I'm meeting with some residents next week that have reached out for an update on this issue, and it's something we're working on all the time.
Okay. And I'll be back for Plainfield Avenue.
Good. I understand. Sounds good.
Thank you.
I know you will. Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hi, former Mayor Al Smith, currently living in Plainfield, but will return to Scotch Plains in June. Tonight it was like 2007-18, deja vu all over. I think the plan looks fine. I would have put a couple of more stories on it, but that's another issue.
We like this guy.
You got to put the affordable houses someplace. Now, in terms of a number of issues, school budgets. You want to reduce your school budget? Join the mayor in writing letters to the legislature to get the fair amount of state funding. If we got the fair amount of state funding, you'd be paying about 6/10 of what you are now. So it's not the pilots, and this gentleman here, and I don't know his name, is going to tell you all why pilots don't work that badly. Second of all, there was an issue that pilots are used for rundown areas. Well, I know of 2 pilots, one for Orchard Garden and one for the old Bullcraft, that pilot money is going to be used to fund the new first responders, which I don't remember what it is, but the last time I looked, that was a $40 or $50 million project. Now, if you don't have a pilot to do that, that's what pilots were made for, you're going to wind up doing what, Mayor?
A big tax bill.
There you go. So if you watch this thing correctly, and if you work it, and by the way, those 2 pilots, which I was involved in negotiating, are really sweet pilots when you look at them. So I would just say to folks, let's get this done ASAP, because the other question is, how many affordable housing units are we going to get out of this?
52.
52.
53.
53.
With a lodestar for the redevelopment of the rentals, you getting credits, bonus credits?
There are bonus credits involved,
So it's
yeah.
probably closer to 100.
Okay. Mayor, how many affordable housing units do we owe right now?
I think thousands.
I think you're at least 500. You just did 200.
Not quite that high, but
It's 400 to 500.
fourth round is 213.
Yeah, okay, and we owe
53 come from this.
We did about, I think it was 334, and we got it down to about 250. So you're looking about, and that's, 20% have to go to affordable housing. You're talking about another 4,000 or 5,000 apartments. I'd be writing letters and asking your legislatures what is going on here, and that we can't take this. These people can't solve your problem. They're dealing with boundary conditions that are just the way it is. So, when is Lidl going to come in?
They're working right now.
Excellent, because My plan was to, I'm going to be moving behind the Stagehouse Tap. My plan was to be able to walk to my, to my grocery store. But
They're coming.
having a robust downtown, and I hear all the issues, this, that, and whatever, work through them. But you need to get going. Because I tell you, at some point, affordable housing is going to come back and say, you know what? We think you should do this, this, and that to make your numbers. And you're not going to like what they tell you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Susan Dazzo, Woodside Road. I have a couple of easy questions. I might have missed it, but I didn't see any, you didn't talk about EV parking, EV charging.
Sure, you know, it's funny because we don't talk about that anymore because it's state regulated. So there'll be plenty of EV parking. There's two forms of EV parking. There's now EV parking and there's planned for EV parking. So you have to deliver a certain percentage, I think it's 5 or 7, and then you have to have another percentage of make ready so that you can add on to the EV. So it used to be a point of conversation in nights like this, but now that the state's kind of usurped it.
It's a given.
It's a given.
It's happening.
I also didn't see any solar panels. Will there be any solar panels
We
incorporated into
have
the
done solar
development?
panels on roofs of both garages and apartments. We'll look at that here. We have to see, you know, whether the sun's going to work and if we're going to have enough of mass, because the buildings aren't that, you know, big on their surface. So we'll see. But we've done that in other projects.
Okay, and I think one of the gentlemen, two before me, talked a little bit about this, and I think I missed it, but the planting, all of the planting, will that be, how will that be maintained?
So we will maintain it for a certain period of time in the beginning. And part of that discussion we'll be having with the town is, well, what do we want to plant? You know, perennials will come back, annuals you'll have to plant every year.
Right.
And then the town at some point will take over once we know that the trees and everything have rooted and we're on our way in the right direction. What happens from there, subject to more conversation.
And will it be native, non-invasive
Of course.
planting?
Of course. We don't want to bring the deer into town.
All right. And car train in Cranford, never going to happen on the Raritan Valley line. Because the cars aren't, just, you mentioned the car
Oh,
train.
right, the car train. That was back in the 70s.
Never going to happen on the Raritan Valley line
Right.
until they do something about the Raritan Valley line.
Yeah, I hear you.
Hi, my name is Cindy Newman. I live on Westfield Avenue for 40 years, and I love this town. And first, we're not on the clock, right? I can talk a little. Okay, so first of all, yeah, because normally it's like whatever, but I want to thank the, what?
No, please, sorry.
Okay, I want to thank the mayor for all he's done with e-bikes. That legislation was passed, very important. Also continuing to try to help us with the speeding on Westfield Ave and Westfield Road. The neighbors notice that the police are out there. We know they can't do everything, but we really appreciate that. The town looks beautiful. Looking forward to the banners and the flags and all of that. And the farmers market. I mean, there's a lot of positive going on, but we do have concerns, particularly for us. I mean, I'm still working full-time. I'm 78 years old. I'm a social worker, so I still like what I do. But at some point, I'm going to have to retire. And I really am concerned about the long-term implications of the costs to those of us that are going to be on fixed income and lower income families that, for the meantime, that some of them still live here. All the construction that you've shown, I've seen every one of them, and the stuff at Two Rivers where I'm a member is beautiful too. So it's nothing about the way it looks. It really does look lovely. But I have concerns about the long-term cost. What's happening with the school, we just bought back La Grande School, but there are issues with that school. That's a very old school. And we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, if I want to rent an apartment, let's say I'm a single person, and I want to rent a one-bedroom, and I have a child, I don't know whether that's legal for you to tell me that I can't rent it. Can you do that?
If you're a single mother with a child in
Yeah.
a one-bedroom, you can't have 3 people in the unit.
Okay, but let's say I'm a
Whether,
single parent.
whether a single parent could share the bed with the child,
Well, no, somebody'd sleep in the living room and somebody'd have the
you could have a
bedroom.
pull-out. I'd have to look at that more
All right,
closely, but
'cause-
maybe that, and under that scenario, I was saying if there's a couple, you can't have 3 people in one bedroom.
Right. Well, I don't know what
That's
the,
all.
I mean, if I'm a single parent, and I was a single parent, that's why I moved here, because you had childcare 40 years ago when nobody else did. Childcare and busing, that's why I bought a house here. That's why I finished my postgraduate education. That's why I was able to continue to live here. So I'm very sensitive to those kind
Oh,
of
the
issues.
Fair Housing Act is very strict on that stuff, and unfortunately, I don't have the, every
Right, but how that
scenario.
impacts the schools and the budgets and the busing, I mean, those kids over, what was Beaucraft, nobody wants them walking to school, so there's busing that's also needed, that's very expensive, so whatever. So I am concerned about the traffic. You're having the entrance and exit on Park, that's already a nightmare in the morning. I don't know if there's any way it could be done on the back, but Park already to get, you know, just to get on Route 22, it's almost impossible to get out in the morning. I only go to my office twice a week. You almost can't get through. So by having that on Park, it's just going to make it worse. I don't know if you can put it on some way
Well,
in
no,
the
it's just an
backside.
entrance on Park. So it should take cars off of Park. There's
But-
no exit on Park. The exits are in the back on
The
Sanger.
exit is on the back, but still, people are going to have to slow down so I can turn in.
Well, they're gonna have to get out to Park if they wanna go to 22 either way, but I'm just saying they're not gonna be, it's not another access point to try and make a left-hand turn onto Park Ave to go to 22.
All right, well, anyway.
You know, they'll use an existing street.
And I know we're not, so I saw the library stuff and whatever, that's another conversation. I'm glad I don't live over there. My other concern is, which I know you don't want to talk about, is the emergency services going out past my home on Park Ave, whether or not there has been or there's going to be a traffic study on that. We have 35 crosswalks where children are going to school, you know, people are out and about. I know it's busy, but this is my neighborhood. And I have a concern about that. I know, like you said, that's not the conversation for tonight, but it all hinges, one thing relates to another. You can't do this until you do that and whatever. So I'd like to see that's, I don't know if you did a traffic study yet or not.
It's part of the site plan. Mr.
What?
Mr. Mistretta can clarify, but that would be part of the site plan application.
All right, but that's critical to you building here, right? You got to relocate out there.
Correct?
Yeah, so I have a concern about that. All right, and my other thing is I just hope, you know, some of us aren't going to be taxed out of town because, you know, at some point, people are on a fixed income or even two-family, you know, two income parents today. It's not so easy to live. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Newman.
Nice to see you people. Good evening. My name is Guido Pasucci at 436 Sanger Place, Scotch Plains. Anybody knows where the Sanger Place is? Right back here. I'm right next door to the fire department. I'm a little fuzzy about this parking spanning across Sanger Place. Can we have that slide up? Can you give me a little bit more details? As far as driveways and who's using the parking and that, is that a private parking or either a public parking?
Both.
And I'm really much interested about the driveways to get into it.
Right. We know. So that's, Sanger Place will be open on both sides. The first floor will be all public parking, and then above will be for the residents. So you'll be able to go past underneath, I think it's like a 14-foot clear, 18-foot clear, so that any vehicle can get through there. And it'll open up Sanger Place as opposed to what's going on now.
Where are driveways to get into it? Are they on the first floor? Or
Yeah, they're at grade.
Yes, right here. You can see the cursor.
You can turn and look right there.
Do you realize that my house is right across
turn
that?
around.
Do you realize about that?
We
My
know,
house
we
is
know
gonna
where
be-
you live.
We don't want to devaluate properties here. We want to increase the value of the properties. We've been through this before. I've been in construction for over 60 years. Project down Florida, Connecticut, New York, and keep on going all the way through the East Coast. And I know what's going on. We want to make sure that my property is preserved. We don't want to devaluate a piece of property. It's a good piece of property, and it's always been a good piece of property. But now, with all this development, we want to make sure that the value of that property stays the same. Okay, now, I'm very fuzzy about the spinning across and everything else. Do we agree that this parking space goes right across my side of the house? The parking garage?
Oh, the parking garage? Yes,
Yeah.
goes across the side of your house.
All right, it spans my house, right?
Yes, it does.
And it goes, what happened to the first single place was supposed to be closed at one time. Then it yielded right away. Then it was supposed to be townhouses over here. What happened to all these projects? Are we devaluating the properties down Sanger Place, or we increasing these properties down Sanger Place? Now that the fire department is going to move out sooner or later. I mean, I'm very, very disappointed at this. Very disappointed.
Well, Guido, when we met with you, this is the exact plan we showed you.
I would never discuss parking spaces there, would never discuss.
You were very much in
bridge,
favor of
would
it.
never discuss the bridge going across Sanger Place.
Well, I politely disagree. This is what we showed you. But, okay, we could talk more. Look, what am I? But I don't know that the fire station next door is any different or any worse or when it comes to your values as opposed to a
No,
parking
they've been
lot.
good neighbors, 60 years now. with
And
them.
we'll be good neighbors
Never
too.
had a problem with them, never had a problem. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna get any more better neighbors than they are.
Well, yeah, just to go over what Steve said, I mean, Mr. Pasucci, we know how important, your property is to you and how long you've been a longtime resident. That's why we set up a private meeting with you before this was shown so that we could get your thoughts. So this is the exact same plan as Steve said that we showed you a few weeks ago. Nothing's changed. It's the same plan.
We never discussed parking garage next to my house a few weeks ago. Never discussed.
I remember it being
We just looked at the
discussed.
plans.
Okay.
Never discussed it, all right? At one point, Sanger Place was supposed to be closed. Yield right away, isn't it? It's on a box over here.
I don't recall that. I know
Well,
we
look at the
talked
books.
we talked about Bartle
Sanger
Avenue
Place,
at one
yield
point.
right away, Sanger Place and Bartle Avenue. It's on a box. I'm not making this up. For that side of construction, I'm very, very disappointed. Very disappointed. To the town and to you people are nice. The presentation was nice and everything else. But as far as other things, I'm very, very disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Craig Clark, Fairway Courts on the south side of Scotch Plains. I've been aware of this redevelopment proposal or project for the better part of the past 10 years. I was very impressed with what I saw tonight. I was surprised at that. I don't see this as a cookie cutter as we're seeing in many of the downtowns across Union County. I would echo what the former mayor said. I would start moving as quickly as you possibly can to get it done. I have two comments. They may be considered criticisms. I heard numerous times that parking spaces are 1 for 1 currently. I would say with what's been proposed here, you're going to draw more people and traffic. I don't know what that means mathematically or what kind of ratio you need, but an equal number of parking spaces may not be adequate. I appreciate that if the municipal facilities are moving several blocks to the north, that's going to free up some spaces. That may answer the question or the comment that I just made. Lastly, the last 10 years or so, it seems there's been a concerted effort to constrain traffic on Park Avenue. This proposal tonight, as nice as it is, seems to take that to another level. I realize it would be ridiculous to put an elevated roadway over the existing Park Avenue to get to 22, but there probably ought to be some thought given to that outside of this project, because obviously Forest and Westfield don't help, and Terrell's not really the solution. There's just too damn much traffic going through the middle, and this is, I think, going to constrain it more. I appreciate the safety and the pedestrian traffic you're all talking about, and that would be nice if this were not such a heavily traveled thoroughfare. But thanks for the presentation. It's a lot of hard work, and got to kind of move it forward somehow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to? Yep.
Hey, everybody. Wilson, Henry Street. Just want to say great job on the presentation. Everything looks great. We moved here about 4 years ago and loved the town, me and my wife. Happily married, for the record. Love the school system. Community's extremely safe, but we're always looking forward to a new downtown. You know, we go out to eat to Westfield and Summit, and I've noticed one thing is they don't have power lines, and we do have power lines. And I think if something we can make the trees look taller instead of having to trim them down, that would be nice. Another thing I have a question about is, once you guys finish a project and you come back 5-10 years later, are there any like regrets or like wishes that like the town wishes, like, oh, well, I wish we would have thought about that, but like, is there anything you can think of?
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that, because one of the advantages, and the answer is yes, one of the advantages of selecting a company like ours that's done this a lot of times is we've made some mistakes over the years and we try and correct them. You know, one of the big issues is always how you're going to service the retail so that you don't inconvenience the residents above. We've screwed that one up a bunch of times. So you want to, you know, you learn every time you do something. Hopefully no one's perfect, but we won't make any big mistakes here. And we know, and Lassard and their team has done multifamily mixed use, you know, I'll say 700-800 times. So a lot of that experience is coming to bear to hopefully minimize any of those mistakes.
The guy before me had a good idea on the elevator.
Yeah. And this guy's at the county to go along with that.
Right. That's the only way to get to Route 78. And then I'm kind of concerned, you guys heard about Berkeley Heights. There are also a lot of efforts in their development plan. So I think there's just going to be a lot of development, a lot of congestion. Any thoughts on how we can come up with a different way to get to Route 78? Because Park Ave seems to be the only way. Yeah, or 22. 5G network, like, is this part of, are you guys looking at, right now we depend heavily on like 5G and telecommunications. Is this part, are we looking at any of the telecommunication, including that somehow?
Oh, the project, 100%. I mean, if you and your wife were looking to rent an apartment and couldn't get on the internet and stay on the internet all day and do Zoom calls, you'd leave. So it's hugely important in the work from home era and the streaming era, that all of our communities are, you know, as high a level as out there at the moment. We used to run cable to every apartment 15 years ago.
And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Power lines has come up a lot. In the downtown redevelopment meeting, I remember former Councilwoman Colleen Gianella bringing it up. And just a few weeks ago, our zoning official, Bob LaCosta, who's in the back of the room, brought it up directly to the Woodmont team. It is being looked at. I learned in that meeting there are several reasons why sometimes that can't be done. Sometimes it's simply the utility company refuses to put their lines underground. But it continues to be looked at, and we're trying to do what we can to make this project as fine as it could be. And that's why we did this meeting, for the input that we got. I encourage people to email questions. If you think of something after leaving tonight, you can reach out to any of us on the council, to Tom Stroh, our town manager. We're going to continue to take your ideas and make sure this project is as good as it can be. And I really want to thank you for allowing us to have I think, such a terrific meeting. The decorum was terrific. I think we shared everything we wanted to share. I'm really pleased with how it was received, and we will continue to get this project underway. We wanted to be fully transparent with how long it may take, but we are committed to getting it done. My colleagues and I are all on board and support this project and support Woodmont for all the reasons that I hope you do too after this presentation. Anything to add?
Nope.
Nope.
I think you covered it.
And lastly, I want to thank our team, Mike Lestrade I've been working with, Al Smith. I want to thank you too for forming the downtown redevelopment meeting and putting us on our way to revitalizing downtown Scotch Plains. Margaret and Tom, my right hand on both sides, for getting us here, and Woodmont Properties for working with us, for being patient with us. I know you've spent a lot of money on this project, and we still haven't sold any land to you. We are grateful to this partnership, and we truly believe that this time Scotch Plains will be revitalized, and many, many years from now, we're all going to be prouder of the town we call home. So thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you.